Hello, this is David, and today I'll be doing the 2020 Skills Part 1, which is setting up a DFS namespace. It wanted us to create two different folders on two different servers. So what I've done is on server 1 I created a folder called the SOP folder, and then on server 2 I created a folder called Policies. I made those folders share. If we bring him up and look at him here, right now we're signed on as administrator on both of the servers. And if we go to properties, I've done the sharing, and then the security. I've added administrators, and I added the full control for DC users. And the reason I've done that, if I close this out, it wanted us to set up some normal users, and I set up a DC user and a DC2 user, and I actually add them to this group called DC users. If we look at the members, it'll show DC1 user, DC2. So I could add it to the NTFS permissions on it. I've done the same thing on policies over here, and we look at the permissions on it. It's set up the same way. I done sharing, and then for everybody, and then on security, I set up the DC users, which had everything. It wanted us to set up a namespace, and I'm going to make server 2 my namespace server. And to do that, when you go into Admin Tools, Server Manager, you want to install the file service, and then in the file service row, you want to go in and add the row services of DFH namespace and DFH. I think if you select the management, it'll select both of them here. The DFS file system. You click it, it'll go ahead and highlight the DFS namespace and replication. So I've already got it set up, and when you install the DFS on it, it'll come up and ask you if you want to go ahead and do the wizard in and create your namespace, but I didn't. You can go to Admin Tools, the DFS Management, bring up the console, and which I did here. So we want to create a new namespace. And it wants to know what server we wanted on it. I want it on server 02 here, the server that I'm on. And we want to click next. It's hiding down there at the bottom. In the name of our namespace, it just told us to give it comp docs. And I want to edit the settings, and I want custom permissions. Everybody can see that it's there and read it, but what I want to do, I want to add the DC users, and I'm going to give them full control. Say OK, and then click next. I want to standalone because I want this server 2 to be the namespace server. Click next, click create, and it'll create that, and as soon as it does, it'll give us the close option. Okay, there is our namespace, comp docs. So what we want to do is highlight it and create a virtual folder. So we'll do new folder, and we're going to call this virtual folder policies, the same name as the policies on server 2, so we'll say OK, and it'll create the virtual directory policies. And we'll go down here and here, and if we click right here, it'll put it up right there. And if we right click on policy here, add a folder target, and we're going to target this thing to server 2, the we click show shared folders, we want it to say OK. So now we've got the virtual folder directory, virtual folder set up, and we got our target added. So we want to highlight this, and we want to add another new folder, and we want to add the SOP. This is our virtual folder name. Say OK, and then we're going to, so that we get it created, we're going to add a target to server 1 up here, because that's where that SOP1 folder is. And let's go down here and add our target folder. In our target folder, let's do a browse, because we want to change that to server 1. Do the show shared folders, and we want the SOP. And so as soon as we get this done created here, we'll have our namespace comp folders with target folders, policies, which is on server 2, and SOP, which is on server 1. So let me close this out. What we want to do now is log these servers off and log back on. I'm going to log server 2 on as DC2 user and log server 1 on as DC1 user. Okay, I've logged on here on server 1 as DC1 user. So if we go to our network now and see if we can find our comp docs folder, and our server namespace server is on server 2, so we'll click on it, and there's our comp docs folder, namespace, and policies folder is on server 2. So if we click that, I've already created some text documents on each server when I created those, and we're going to see if it'll let us change it here. We're going to add, let's see if it'll let us add to a save, and it did. And if we back up one here, we'll see if we can go through this way too and actually see this folder, and we can. So we know it works for server 1. Let's go to server 2. We're logged on as DC2 user on server 2. And if we go to network, and our namespace server is on server 2, so we'll go there and comp docs. So this folder is on the other server. So let's double click on it and see if we can add some to it. Let's save. Okay. So if we go over here to server 1, go into there and go into our server docs, see if we got the X's in there, and we do. So it looks like our namespace is working correctly, and our targets is all set up, and this completes part 1 of the skills. I'll be doing part 2 in another video. Thank you.